Hi, guys. Hey, you know the old adage, don't get mad, get even, right? Not necessarily. Let's check it out and see if that's really true for you. Today we're talking about anger because I've noticed in talking to men and doing some pre-dating work that there's like fissures of anger running through their conversations. I don't even know if they're aware of it. It's made me look at my own conversations to double check myself. So let's get into it. Maybe you can do some double checking of your own to make sure those little anger fissures aren't affecting your dating opportunities or relationship opportunities with anybody in your life, right? Oh, so yeah, there's a reason I'm doing this in front of my refrigerator today. We'll talk about that later. So, the first thing is when you start to think about anger in any situation that you walk into, check yourself. If you're prone to anger, many years ago, I was extremely prone to anger. I was angry all the time for something. I don't even think I was aware of it. But now I check myself before I go out the door with a halt. 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 So I check myself with a halt. What does HALT stand for? H is for hungry. A is for annoyed. L is for lonely. And T is for tired. More than likely, we're all starting out the day with one of those. So just check yourself before you go out the door. Are you hungry, annoyed, lonely, or tired? None of those? Great. There's anger triggers everywhere you go, right? We're older. We're even more susceptible to anger triggers now. And that doesn't even include the ones that you're walking around with all the time that you're not aware of. That's the first step, is really determining what it is that pisses you off. I am a writer, and there are things called universal needs and universal triggers. Some of the universal triggers, now listen to these carefully, because what you're watching or consuming in the news, in a movie, in a YouTube video, scrolling on Facebook, any one of those could be contributing to your anger without you even knowing it, because those writers all know the same things that I do, that there are universal triggers for anger. Want to know what some of them are? I have a list. Ready? Being treated unfairly, feeling powerless, feeling threatened or attacked, other people not respecting your authority. Ever have that happen? Being interrupted from anything, a conversation or a goal. Grief, obviously. And medication. Have you checked the side effects of your medication? You know, we have so many challenges at our age dealing with so many different relationships. Everything from the doctor's office, who treats us with that condescending attitude and condescending tone. I don't have any anger about that, can you tell? Anything from, that aggravation at the doctor's office, to a package arriving late, to being estranged from our children, could be all undercurrents that we aren't even aware of when we're talking to our friend at lunch. Or we're talking to a possible future date. I'm serious, you guys. Take a look at your anger. I'm checking mine too. Don't worry. We're all being treated equally here. Okay, so when you get angry, the emotional part of your brain is triggered, not the thinking part. So You're thrown into a fight or flight situation. Now, granted, not all angering factors are going to send you, in a flight for your life, but that's the physiology behind the emotion. Once it starts that fight or flight reaction in your body, your blood pressure goes up, your heart has erratic electronic activities going on, it increases your cortisol levels. You know which one that is? The cortisol? That's the one that gives us fat around our bellies. I have a list for this too. Think about these. They may be symptoms that there's something wrong with you physically, but it could be just anger. How about headaches or dizziness? You ever notice that comes on at a certain time? How about stomach discomfort? Anger changes the way you digest food and affects your whole digestive tract. And particularly, it affects your liver. How about shaking or trembling? Is it happen all the time or just when you're around certain people? Weakness in your legs could cause you to urinate more frequently. I didn't know that one. And it's just a common source of inflammation. And inflammation is the source of every bad thing in our body. So again, cortisol and inflammation, anything I can do to get rid of those two, I'm all in. Oh, and sleep disorders, which most of us would probably figure that would be common sense. But if it's an underlying anger that you're not even aware of, all these things could be going on, and you could be blaming them on your medication, your sister, your brother, your dog, your neighbor. And it could just be your own anger. There's a couple of reasons you want to handle this anger. One is if there's another person that's angering you, then you're giving over your control to that person. You are not fully in control when you're in an anger mode, and they're yanking your chain, baby. Another reason you want to avoid being angry in your relationships is because it's unproductive. It really doesn't serve any purpose except to alert you of danger or threat. It's not going to help you patch up that rough, rocky friendship, relationship with your child or another relative. It's not going to help. You have to get rid of it. You have to figure out what it is and yank it out and throw it away. In addition to be bad for your body, it's bad for dating. You know why? It's unattractive. Nothing about anger is attractive. You might look great when you're all pumped up and looking tough and protecting your woman. That might be the only time you look attractive. But other than that, people are looking for humor, not anger. All right, so let's talk about some ways that you can get this thing under control and fill in the blank to don't get angry, get. First thing you need to do is, as usual, be self-aware, okay? There's triggers and then there's situations. Triggers are things that are within you. I have a ridiculously silly situation going on that has put me on the front page of the news. You can look it up if you want. It's in the Durango Herald in Durango, Colorado. One of my friends asked me how I felt about this, and I said, well, today's news is tomorrow's fire pile, so it's going to go away. And I know the truth, and I know that that situation is not true, and it is being handled in a professional and calm way. But he's still disturbed about this. You know why he's still disturbed about this? Because I'm being treated unfairly. And it's triggering those times when he's felt like he's been treated unfairly. And he's having to deal with that by being involved with me and my situation. This is how anger works. He is at least aware of where that's coming from. But the next step is to deal with it. That's the hard part. Because if you're not even aware, how are you going to deal with it? So there's triggers And then there's situations. Let's say you're going out on a date with a man that's divorced and you're in a mall. The first trigger for him is that he's in the mall. He's caught. How long is he going to have to be in here? How long are you going to hold him hostage? That's the first trigger. Then there's the trigger where you say, I'm just going to pop in here for 5 minutes. That's another trigger because your ex used to say that all the time and she'd be gone for hours and you'd lose your whole afternoon just sitting in a massage chair in a mall. Maybe not even a massage chair. Even if you were fortunate enough to go have a beer in a sports bar and watch the rest of the game, you're still being held hostage. Surprisingly, she actually comes back in 5 minutes. Now, are you still angry from those triggers, or are you able to let it go and move on with the rest of the date, afternoon, whatever you may be involved in at the time? Triggers and situations. Know your triggers from your last mate, especially if you're dating. I've been triggered multiple times just in the little bit of pre-dating and qualifying that I've been doing. Lots of triggers for me. I'm sure there's lots of triggers for them too. And I'm methodically going through each one of those triggers. Even doing some journaling for some of them because they're so strong. I don't know if it's me or the other person or my history getting in the way. Is your history getting in the way? Okay, the next thing to do is pause. You got to figure out, is this a trigger? Is this a situation? I need to pause. Where am I at? How does my body feel? Ugh. My stomach is churning. My heart is racing. I'm kind of angry. Am I angry at her in front of me? Or am I angry at that guy that just put a dent in the back of my car? Got to stop and think. If it's somebody in front of you and you need to have words with them, you have to think even longer. But take those seconds to think. Take 5 seconds. Just feel your body. Listen to what's going on. Maybe take 5 more seconds. Or move forward because you've already done your pre-work. Then think before you speak. Can you speak without angry words? Can you communicate clearly? Are you just going to shut down and ignore it and let it go and fester like a cancer? That's an option, but that's another thing to look at too. There's an old Native American parable where the grandfather is telling the grandson that he has 2 wild wolves living within him. One is a wolf who practices love and kindness and positivity, and the other is a wolf full of hatred and anger and negativity. The grandson asks, which wolf will grow in me? And the grandfather says, that depends on which one you feed. Think about your words. Your words not only to that other person, but your words to yourself. I'm angry right now. It's not good for my body. It's not good for my mind or my soul or my relationships. What do I need to do? And be kind to yourself. Take good care of that loving, kind, positive wolf inside you. The next thing you can do is exercise or meditate. Both is the best at the time. Maybe you just need to walk around the block and blow off some steam or go chop some wood. And then finally, when you're communicating, you want to use I statements. I know that sounds very counselor-ish, but it's really true. And be careful about your I statements too, because you could be throwing the responsibility back on yourself when it's actually somebody else's, or you could be inadvertently putting all the blame on them, even though you're using an I statement. This is the way they tell you to do it in nonviolent communication. When you I feel Practice writing this down with some situations before you actually try and do it verbally with somebody. These are steps that you kind of need to know and practice before you get into the anger and madness that sometimes causes us to lose control of ourselves and our situations. I'm sharing this today because it keeps coming up. There's a lot of anger out there. And to start a relationship before you've even started it, be it pre-dating, meeting somebody through a friend, sharing a conversation with a friend that might turn into something more, check yourself. Don't get mad. Get aware. Pay attention. Be kind to yourself and others. And then your anger won't be forcing you into the refrigerator, because that's the place where a lot of us stuff it. Instead of thinking, we eat. All anger in some people. I ask you, please check yourself out. Let that anger go. Relax. Okay, hope that's helpful. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe. Pass it on to somebody else who you know might have a little teeny tiny anger in them, just to help them and their friends and their family. Thanks. See you next time. Bye.